And welcome in, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Jets Group Chat Pod. I'm your host, Carlos. We got lovely, handsome Jara in the house tonight, joining us from sunny Florida. You guys getting heavy rain coming down there, though, right?
A little bit of a hurricane. We'll be all right. Nothing we can't handle. I mean, you cancel the Mets fucking Atlanta games, which is wild.
Yeah, it's going to screw up our Mets. Of course, this is the Jets podcast, but... Oh, well, this is actually... We could actually get into this a little bit later. We could actually get into this a little bit later because Dennis is a Brewers fan, and we have to face the Brewers this weekend. And there's a good chance that one of us is going to end up playing the Brewers in the playoff side of the wild card. So
I would like it to be the Mets so I can go watch a game.
Yeah. Well, no, they would all be in Milwaukee.
What the fuck?
Yeah, none of the wild card teams don't host any home games. They're all in Milwaukee. They'd all be in Milwaukee. Yeah.
Why was I thinking that it's a 3-game series?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's 1, right? Oh no, 3?
No, best out of 3.
Best of 3.
But all of them would be in at the home team's place.
I mean, I could get mad at that.
Well, if you didn't know, this is Dennis, the loser Brewers fan. He's also joining us. Before we kind of get into things, Dennis, what have your impressions been? Your first 3 weeks as a Jets season ticket holder, just coming off of your first home opener. Hey. What are your impressions so far as being a season ticket holder?
So far, so good. We had a good time the other day. I didn't make it to work the next day, but I mean, we had a good time.
Well, that's the thing.
On the way home, I told Matt, I'm like, I think I'm going to go home. He was like, you can't go home. We passed your exit 10 minutes ago. It's like we're at the bar. I'm like, all
right. Of course, we went to the bar after the Jets won because they so rarely win. You have to celebrate wins at this point and kind of relish in every moment. And I was going to be off from work on Friday, so I was off Thursday, went to the game off Friday, and I'm like, I'm going out for like having myself a night to celebrate. So I had to drive Dennis home. Kimberly, my wife, is driving the car, and I'm like, Dennis, you going to come to the bar with us? And he's like, yeah, like that's cool. And I'm like, are you going to call out of work tomorrow? And he's like, I don't know, probably not. I'm probably going to go. And I'm like, oh, well, then you can't go to the bar. He's like, nah, I'll go. Like, I'll be good.
Fuck, I can't.
Yeah. So we're like on the turnpike driving there, and Dennis is like, I don't know. I think maybe I'm going to go home. I'm getting a little tired. And I'm like, Dennis, we passed the Cartwright exit like 10 minutes ago. Like there's no going back now. Like, we're going to the bar, and you're going to Uber home. So we showed up. We showed up at the bar, had a couple celebratory Jets beers before Dennis hit the road. Yeah, it was good times. It's
slept over my alarm and called out of work.
Yeah, so it was a good Thursday, good Friday for Jets fans. Of course, it feels like that's like the vibe right now around the fan base. Like usually after 3 weeks, it's like we're 0-3 or 1-2, and it's pretty funny to me how like the difference in 1 games in the standing could like change the complete mindset. Like if you're 2-1, like the world is right, everything's good, but you're 1-2, and
the world's ending.
And you kind of feel like you're like the next loss, like your season's potentially over. And that's where we're used to being, is like in that position where like we're just kind of like constantly scratching and clawing
PJ,
to like.
If you're listening, that's you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I will be honest though. After the first week, we all kind of like, "What the fuck?" The world is falling. Maybe Rodgers did lose a step, but
I think we were all like in unison that it was a disappointing game because. I don't think that I thought the Jets would win that one. I think once McCaffrey was out, I had a better feeling that they could win that game. And for them just to come out as flat as they did was super disappointing. I think the best thing that came out of that first game was obviously Rodgers' health, and he looked like he could still sling it. But I think the biggest thing for me that came out of that first game was it's apparent that these guys need to play in the preseason. I think that had a huge deal of why they looked as flat as they did. And I think that's why a lot of these teams, I mean, we talked about it in the chat, like just the NFL in general right now, like scoring is down dramatically. There's so many injuries. Our fantasy teams are all fucked right now because there's so many guys on IR or out with long-term injuries. And it just seems like the correlation is these guys not being on the same page or not being stretched out and ready to go.
They're not in sync, to be honest with you. They're not in game shape either. You know, it's like same thing. I get Rodgers is 40. He's pushing, towards the end of his career. You want to keep him healthy. But, he looked out of sync with Rodgers on a couple of those throws. He looked out of sync with a lot of the players. And I feel like the continuity really wasn't there, even for the offensive line. They played well, but they had some cracks. Same thing with that D-line.
Yeah.
We got manhandled on defense. They looked like they never played together, never even saw the field, and arguably probably one of the worst defensive games we've seen out of this, strong unit. But they seemed to bounce back. They seemed to, it was shaky again in week 2, but he pulled out the W. Then last week it was another dominant performance. So hopefully they did turn it around, lit a fire under their ass, and they're back to their old ways. Don't lose to the Denver Broncos on Sunday. That's the thing, because then you got another 3-game stretch is going to be real tough. Vikings, Bills, and then surprisingly the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. So don't let up. All gas, no break is really where it needs to come into play right now. But they've got to gel together, and we're winning now, but Rodgers and Wilson need to get on the same page. Yeah, that's one thing I'm keeping my eye on.
And I think that's part of just the non-preseason thing, and they didn't play together last year, and he didn't play in the preseason really last year, I mean,
first game, they didn't get many opportunities. Second game, not too many either. Third
5 catches and 5 catches. That's really it, except for the touchdown.
Yeah.
It'll start moving, I think.
Is it just me, or in the game last week, did Wilson look frustrated? Did he look pissed off the whole game? Like, I didn't want to say it because I'm superstitious about texting the group chat when we were winning, but like he looked visibly pissed off. Wilson.
Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson.
Didn't really notice.
I mean, I didn't notice at the game. I didn't watch it on TV, so I don't know.
Well, you guys were both hammered. I forgot about that. You probably didn't even see half of that shit.
No, really not even like I watched the game when I'm up there, but obviously we're up there. Like you can't see the guy's face. So like if the TV's like zoomed in on his face after
they did a couple of times, and he looked like just not right. Whether he was pissed, whether he was upset, whether he didn't get a touchdown yet, and it's week 3, whatever it was, he didn't seem like his upbeat self. Like he'd catch a pass, he'd drop the ball and run away. It was odd, which is why I'm happy. Rodgers forced that third quarter touchdown to him.
Threaded the needle beautiful on that one.
I mean,
that was a beautiful pass.
There's 2 people in the world who could probably make that throw, and I'm glad one of them plays quarterback for the New York Jets.
Yeah, but no shit.
That's a pick 6 the other way with 99% of the quarterbacks. But either way, I feel like got that monkey off his back. Hopefully they can start to jive and gel again. But it just didn't look right to me, at least on TV.
Okay. I mean, that could be the case. I think it's, and I mean, Rodgers admitted that like after the game, like he's like, we're kind of clicking right now. Like that was the best game they played offensively. And he's like, me and 5 aren't even
going yet.
Yeah. Like we haven't even gotten rolling yet. And we're already kind of locked in. And I think the best thing for me offensively that came out of the game on Thursday against New England was just they got more guys involved. Like you finally saw Tyler Conklin. I thought Conklin was going to be a big part of this offense, and it felt like he was pretty much shut out the last 2 weeks. You wouldn't have even noticed he was on the field the first 2 weeks. So he was a big like safety net option on third downs, kind of like cutting across the middle or on the boundaries.
And starting to get Mike Williams rolling up at his snap count, and he's making some big catches. I mean, he's there for the 50-50 ball.
I think once he's in there, it's going to spread everything out a little bit more, open up more for Garrett Wilson, and just make it a lot easier.
And I think it's also time we owe Alan Lazard an apology. Not for the way he played the last season, but I think he's a better player with Rodgers. Like a couple of those quick, like 5-yard, 6-yard first down,
he knows
throws.
how to get on the ball. He knows when he could get on the ball, how to
exactly
potential.
That's something that comes from just playing for 5 years together. Exactly. Yep. And I think he's going to start rolling too. And I think he's going to be another one of those underrated number 3, borderline number 2s, because he's going to catch a lot of balls, because that's going to be a security blanket for him.
He's a big dude. He could catch that little out route right there. I mean, or just like this hike, throw me the ball and take a few yards and go. He could do that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's big right now because right now he's playing like a number 2, but he's going to eventually move to your number 3. Like once Williams is actually commanding and that's the thing. Like you could kind of sell out on Garrett Wilson right now and make Rodgers throw it to somebody else, and at that point you need somebody else to get open or make a play. And right now Lazard is doing that, and you're starting to see like kind of Dennis alluded to. Each week it seems like his role is increasing. Obviously, he only played I think 9 snaps in week 1, so he was just kind of out there as a decoy more than he probably should have been inactive in week 1, if we're being honest. But like week 2, I think his snap count went up to like 15 or 16.
Yeah,
made like 2 big catches, I want to say, in that Tennessee game. And then you saw him make a couple big uncontested, like 50-50 ball catches. And it seems like he doesn't catch a lot of balls so far in these first 3 games, but every time he does, it's like a huge third down conversion.
It's
like
when they need it.
He's like going up over somebody, taking the ball and like falling out of bounds on a third down to stop the clock when they need it. It's just been like big moments when he's actually on the field for 65-70% of the snaps. I think that's when it really opens it up for Garrett Wilson and things start to get spread out even more, you know?
Yeah. And again, they faced some pretty decent, DBs that shadowed Wilson. Let's be honest.
Sure.
I mean, Christian Gonzalez is no, joke either. And he spied him everywhere he went. Maybe that's why he was getting frustrated because he couldn't get open. Yeah. Patrick Surtain's gonna be another big one.
Yeah, arguably. I mean, you could say what you want about Sauce. If Sauce isn't the best, he's in the top 2. And I mean, I think the only guy that's competition for the best is Surtain. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to have him on Garrett Wilson, I'd imagine, exclusively this entire game. So I think it's going to be more of they're going to take Wilson out of this game, let somebody else beat us, and it's going to have to be Lazard. It's going to have to be Conklin. Williams, I'd imagine, is going to pick it up. But I think the one guy that's also been, and we could get into this here for a little bit, I really want to talk a little bit about Braylon Allen.
Yes, Agent Zero, my fucking man.
I think we were all...
Your Instagram name.
Yeah, I know, right?
Take the 1 and make it an L, and then take the O and make it a 0. It's perfect.
I think we were all super pumped up about that draft pick when it happened, and we thought he had the potential to kind of like eventually come in, have a niche, have a role. Like once you get to those cold weather months in November and December when you want to pound the rock, you got a bruiser to kind of go with the finesse of Brees. I'll go around and ask both of you guys, but I know for me personally, I didn't think that they would work him in as early as they have.
Me either.
As prominently as they have.
I thought
especially in the passing game. He's become a big threat in the passing game. What are your Dennis? What are your kind of thoughts? Just how he's done so far, and are you surprised that they're kind of using him in the role that it seems like they have used him in so far?
Oh, he's doing amazing. Like just watching him run the ball, people are scared to tackle him.
Yeah, he's a bruiser.
And I mean, I would say I wouldn't have thought that they were going to use him this much this early. And being what you call it? What the hell? I'm losing my train of thought. Being a Brees Hall fantasy owner, that kind of upsets me a little bit. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, as long as the Jets are winning, I don't care about my fantasy team.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I hear that. What about you, Speaker? How are you feeling about Agent Zero so far and his usage?
I love it. I feel like the way the league is going, it becomes a running back by committee league. And whenever you have that workhorse, it's tough to stay healthy and it's tough to scheme against, other defenses. But I thought week 1 was what we were going to see all year. They were going to feed Brees as much as possible. Then later in the year, as it got colder, maybe late fall, early winter, now you got this big bruiser, bring up to speed and, take some of those carries away. Seeing it happen week 2 and seeing it being successful, and then they started to up it again in week 3, he's going to be an integral part of this offense, and rightfully so. I mean, not saying he's a change of pace back from what Brees Hall does. They're just different styles of runner. He's just a bruiser, hits the hole hard, and one cut, almost like a Sean Green was to LaDainian Tomlinson back in the day. And, again, no disrespect to Brees, but, Brees is, more of finesse. He's the painter. He's, he does it in a way where it's almost like artistic, the way he, runs, he's patient and then hits the hole and he's great out of the passing game. Whereas Allen's just like, give me the rock and dare you to tackle him. But I'm happy to see it's working and, feed the hot hand. At this point in the season, keep going. If there's a game where Brees just isn't firing right, lean on Allen. Same thing, vice versa. What's up?
Who's going to be firing?
I know. You want him to. I do too. But again, it's like now it's one of those things where it's like, wow, we actually have multiple options on offense. This is weird to Jet fans. It's good to feel and it's good to see where it's like now we have options. And now I don't know what it is. I guess with Rodgers being another coach on the field, I really do feel confident in the way these game scripts go moving forward. Like I feel like what they're doing is like Nathaniel Hackett gives Aaron Rodgers an idea of what he wants him to do and is like, go call a game. Like almost like a good pitcher.
Yeah.
Do what you want, dude.
Freelance.
We trust you.
Yeah, but of course, and no matter what they're doing, you always have Rodgers up there going can, killing the
He
play.
changes exactly.
And I think that's been a huge underrated part of the early going offensively too. Is just like Rodgers goes up the line, he knows exactly what the fuck's being thrown at him. He knows exactly the look that they're giving him.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what they're going to move to. He knows what he wants to audible to, and he has the autonomy to go into whatever he wants to do, and it's been successful. He's killing a play at the line just about every other snap. It feels like, but they're all on the same page when he kills the play. I noticed yesterday they talked about it on the Pat McAfee show. I found it interesting, and I hadn't even noticed it until they pointed it out. But when he gets up there at the line and he's going can, killing the play, Rodgers wants everybody else on the field to acknowledge that he's killing the play. So they all go like that as well. Like
in unison almost.
Just like acknowledging that, like, yeah, we're killing out of this play. Where like in years past, like you would just see like Zach Wilson go alert, and like everybody just stands around like, do you know what we're switching to? Like
3 people are doing one thing, the other 8.
Exactly. It just seems like when he's killing out of a play, everybody knows exactly what he's calling the play to, and everybody's just in the right spot where they need to be. Where like in years past, it felt like nobody was on the same page, and in pure honesty, just Zach Wilson doesn't have the experience, the intellect under center to not always know what he's looking at, like it was very easy to disguise looks or to switch things up on Zach Wilson, and he wouldn't know what was happening, So I think that's made such a huge difference in just like the experience level of having a guy like that under center, knowing what's coming at him.
He's seen it all. I mean, that one, I think it was Hard Knocks, where they did the joint practice, and the one guy did like the fake blitz, and he stopped. He goes, "You're not coming, back up." And again, did the guy blitz? No, he backed into coverage. Like, he has seen it all, and I feel like that's where he has that type of leash. He has that autonomy, like you said, to do what you want to do. Call 5 plays in the huddle, and as long as the team is on sync with it, let him decide and decipher what the defense is looking like and what he's going to do. He looked surgical last week. Week 1, he looked a little out of sync. Week 2, it still was a little bit iffy. But last week, arguably his best game as a Jet against the Patriots, he looked in full command of that offense, and I felt we could have scored with every time we touched the ball. I really, truly believed it.
Yeah, I think Dennis and I said last week when we were up there watching it, it felt like we were watching a different sport. Like, there was, I think on 2 or 3 drives in a row, I think they got 5 or 6 first downs on like 3 drives in a row. And I was like, I've sat up in this section and I've gone a month without having 6 first downs. Meanwhile, I'm getting 6 first downs every drive. And it was
the most stress-free game I ever went to in my entire life.
Yeah.
There was never a chance where I was like, oh, they might do this or they might, come back a little bit. I had no anxiety. I mean, I had a lot of beers too, but but I also was just like,
Dennis having a lot of beers. That doesn't ever happen.
I'm sitting there watching it. I'm like, never at one time was I'm just sitting there had anxiety, thinking they're going to come back. Not one time. And I don't think that's even when we've won games by a decent amount. I've been there. I've always had that thought, like, oh, they might come
You were
back.
just waiting for like the other shoe to drop, and they're typical Jets fashion. They're going to shit the bed, and they're going to fumble, and they're going to return it for a touchdown. There's going to be a kick return. Like you just always expect.
You knew something was going to happen.
It was nice and to just have a smile on your face the entire game.
But the D played solid too. The D showed up again. And it was like, I don't know if it was the rotation up front. I don't know if it was the disguising of the looks. I don't know if it was the speed of the linebackers.
That's another thing.
They looked good. And I think, listen, no disrespect to the man. You love him. He's your MVP on defense. But there's got to be made a case where Jamie Sherwood might be a little bit better than CJ Wilson.
Mosley.
That's what I meant. I'm looking at the thing. I'm looking at Zach Wilson. She talked about it. Well, I had it up because I was looking at his stats of like how many times he's fucked up with the Jets. But CJ Mosley, like, he hasn't lost a step. His mind's still sharp, but again, he might be a liability in coverage. Sherwood's been lights out the last 2 games.
Yeah, and that feels like. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You don't want to like kind of come to terms with it because he's such a beloved guy in the locker room. He's the captain of the defense. We all love him as like an emotional leader of the team. But like it could be made a case that like if you go through that first game against San Francisco and the first half against Tennessee, or that first quarter and a half against Tennessee, which is the only time that Mosley's played this year, the defense looks completely different from the time for those 6 quarters that Mosley played to the 6 quarters that they played without him. The defense has been night and day without him compared to with him.
It could also be that he, maybe he's a little injured. He's a little hobbly, so he's a little slower right now. Get yourself right and come back.
He just looked slow though, like in coverage, stopping the run. He just couldn't stop the run, and
he was injured coming in a little bit, and he just never didn't really come out, and then he aggravated it. You never know.
Yeah,
but he comes back and does good, and him and Sherwood kind of share shit. Maybe he comes back and he's the same person.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying like they're playing so well right now. Like I don't even know that I'd rush Mosley, especially with a foot.
No,
like a foot could linger. So if he's even like 95% and not like 100, I wouldn't hesitate to really keep that guy out. Just the way, because I mean they've moved Quincy over to that Mike linebacker spot, and that dude is unbelievable. That dude is
insane.
I think he's one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL, and I just don't know why. Like he plays in New York, and I know guys like Sauce. They have the swag, they have the high like draft pick pedigree, but even his brother like Quinnen's never been a super like high sack number guy. Like he's lunch pail. Like he doesn't have endorsements. He's not in commercials. Like. But even like Quinnen gets a lot more attention than he does. I guess it's because of the contract and the pedigree and being a Pro Bowler. But like
first round pick,
yeah. But like they had and not that I put a lot of stock into like these bullshit rankings, but like they did that NFL Top 100 this year. The Quincy Williams was ranked higher than all of them, and just like nobody talks about the guy. But
they picked him up off waivers from the Jaguars.
Like,
it's so weird.
Yeah,
just like Victor Robles in fantasy baseball.
Off of waivers.
Yeah.
And again, I remember even was it like 2 years ago, everyone was all pissed off. Oh, we let Quan Alexander go. He was a big boomstick. He was hitting everybody. Dude, Quincy Williams runs sideline to sideline with so much intensity, and he hits so hard. There's just like you said, you can't pinpoint what it is, but there's just something to love about that guy. He's easily one of my favorite Jets. Like 100%. The celebration, the big hits, everything. When you need him the most, he shows up. Like
I agree, man.
And especially in that second level. I mean, like our D line, struggled a little bit, and he's just been anywhere and everywhere you need him to. And again, say what you will about Big Q. I mean, he's doing his thing down in the D line. Even he's another unsung hero. Even if the stat sheet doesn't show, he's getting double teamed all over the place and still wreaking havoc. Which is why I was happy that they kept all the D linemen activated for the last game. Because they need another big body there, and look what happened. That whole front line was plugged up. They couldn't do – Stevenson could do nothing.
Don't forget Jermaine Johnson, shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we miss you, JJ.
That was a tough loss, man. That sucks. But I thought – I think a big topic of conversation was after that happened, like would they kind of pivot and come crawling back to Reddick? And it's obvious that they don't feel desperate enough to do that. And – I mean, they played one game since JJ went out, and I mean, they had the most sacks they've had in the last 15 or something years in a game. I think they had 7 sacks against New England. It didn't seem like they were kind of missing that pass rush presence. And granted, New England had a kind of banged up line, so I mean, maybe you put some stock into that. But so far, Will McDonald has showed up and showed out. You got to be happy with that.
Yep.
Q's been doubled, but he looked like he was kind of coming out of that shell with different looks that they gave last week to kind of free him up a little bit. Kinlaw seems like he's kind of coming around and becoming a little bit of a presence. So if you're not going to figure this thing out with Reddick, which it's just absurd that it's come to this point. But at this point,
no sense.
At this point, if he's dug this far in, I don't think that there's an expectation he's going to just come crawling back and week 5 or 6 rolls around and he's
your money.
Isn't he going to lose more money if he sits out all season? Won't he lose more money than the contract is even worth?
100%. You'd lose over $20 million. He was going to make 14.
14, right? Yeah.
He would debt himself $6 million.
I don't get it. I just don't. I mean, do you see what do you see happening? How does this play out? They trade him.
I don't know because like what are you going to get of value because nobody else wants this headache. And I don't know. I don't think anybody would like trade a pick. The thing is like, what incentive do the Jets have to trade him? They don't have to do anything with him because they're not paying him anything right now. He's on the reserve did not report list, so he's not getting paid any money.
Okay,
So,
all right. So then, yeah.
so like the Jets aren't physically losing money on this deal. They're not paying him any money. He's not even counting against their cap at the moment. So like, there's no cap hit. There's no financial implications for the Jets. And if he doesn't come in, they still own his rights next year. They could do the same thing that they're doing right now. And just
can you imagine, dude? Like,
and so the only scenario that I could see him coming back is week 10, because if he doesn't come back, if he comes back after week 10, he can't accrue a year of service time for him to be a free agent. So no, I think it's 10. If he came back for week 10, even if he came back and the Jets said no, we're not.
So it's almost like a wasted year. It's the same contract in place again for next year. It's like nothing ever happened.
He would become a free agent at the end of this year if he reports in week 10.
If he reports, but if he doesn't, that's what I'm saying. He reports back
after week 10. If he doesn't report, then he's still a Jet next year. He doesn't accrue a year of service. Like, remember kind of like when Mosley sat out the COVID year?
Yeah.
So like he spent an extra year with the Jets. His contract should have ended a year before it did.
But it's like a wash.
Because he didn't accrue a year of service because he sat out. He spent an extra year with the Jets because he didn't actually play that year. So this is kind of like the same thing.
I don't get it.
Reddick not playing this year. Just
we like Mosley and Reddick's a dick.
Listen, if the Raiders are listening, Devontae Adams for Hassan Reddick straight up. Let's do it right now. Let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah,
Max Crosby too.
Yeah, we'll take him.
Yeah, right.
He's all right. He's good at football. I've seen a lot of people float that. I don't like it if the Raiders did get to that point where they're going to trade Adams, which I feel like they're going to eventually get to that point. It feels like it's already starting to bubble over a little bit with the coach, and it seems like some guys are quitting, and he's getting frustrated on the sidelines a little bit already. But I don't think they'd be looking for a guy like Reddick if they're going to, like, they'd probably just want picks. Like, at that point, you're like going young, you're going to like go for picks or like salary relief. Like, I don't think they'd want a guy with Reddick where you're going to like have to pay the guy a lot of money where two teams have already decided to not pay him and have moved off of him.
Exactly. No, I'm only kidding, but still.
And the guy just turned 30. So like you're going to spend your whole age 30 season not playing, going into the free agent market almost as a 31-year-old pass rusher. It
doesn't work for anybody. Le'Veon Bell and Deshaun Watson both are shells of themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Look how it played out. Like, yeah, I mean, there's a small like track record and sample size of people doing what he's doing, and it hasn't played out in their favor at any point. But I at least like I understand like a lot of people always bring that up, like, oh, Le'Veon Bell did this. Like, what's the difference? The thing is, Le'Veon Bell did it when he was on the franchise tag, so he wasn't technically under contract. Like, it was just a tag. So by him sitting out that year, he was always going to be a free agent at the end of that year.
Again, exactly.
And then he could go to wherever he wanted. Reddick doing this, he's not going to be a free agent. He's still going to be on the Jets next year if he doesn't report. So that's the only difference is Bell did it when he was on a franchise tag. He's doing it actually under a contract that he signed. Bell never signed the franchise tag.
Yeah. Wasn't Bell only like 27, 26 when it happened too?
Yeah, something
He wasn't
like
pushing
that.
30.
Yeah, right. And he was a running back who, I mean, they have short shelf lives too, but I mean,
but he had juice.
Right. And then he just didn't anymore. I think Adam Gase had a lot to do with that too.
Sucked the life out of him.
I mean, we could have just a podcast about Adam Gase every week and just kind of never run out of content. I'd rather not go down that avenue. But yeah, it just like we deserve this shit though, guys. Like 4 years ago, like being pissed off that we didn't lose a game to get Trevor Lawrence, and then like going through the Zach Wilson era. And it's like crazy. Like I've had a lot of people, or I've been reading a lot about like Sam Darnold, and I'm super fucking pumped for Sam. Like I've always loved Sam.
Me too.
I always thought if they set Sam up to be successful and gave him a decent line and a couple decent weapons, that he could have been a dude. And he's never really had that in his career consistently. But like people were like, oh, the Jets, Sam Darnold, like the Jets ruined him, and I'm like, well, he went to 2 other teams. He's been on this is his 3rd team in like
They
3
couldn't
years.
do it either. Exactly.
Right? Like it's not like anybody else did this for him either. It's
like
just
a 14.
no Jet. Yeah.
Jets?
Oh yeah.
Panthers,
Yeah.
Niners.
Yeah. The Panthers, the Niners, and now the Vikings. So yeah, it's on his 4th team. Yeah, like pretty much his fourth team in like 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And but it doesn't it feel like the Sam Darnold era was like 20 years ago because there were so many highs and lows to the Zach Wilson era that like the Zach Wilson era
First pass, pick 6 against the Lions.
I feel like the Zach Wilson era was like a light year away.
Yeah, I feel like the Zach Wilson era though was like 20 years long. Like it didn't
stop. It was a fever dream that never
It
stopped.
was the Daniel Jones era.
Yeah, that's
a little bit longer.
Nah, at least he like took them to the playoffs for a year. He's had some like as bad as Daniel Jones probably is comparatively to Zach Wilson. I mean, they're light years away. Like Zach Wilson doesn't even dress on Sundays.
Zach Wilson's inactive for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, like I mean,
you can have me inactive and pay me.
I would take that. It's the best job in the world.
Yeah.
Third string quarterback inactive on Sundays. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
But you're right though. I'm happy for Sam Darnold. I've always rooted for him. I mean, I've always rooted for any ex-Jet when they go somewhere else. I mean, you look at Demario Davis. I was hyped for him having still doing his thing. I mean,
he was a good Jet. Yeah, I think it depends because I don't always root for guys after that. Like,
no, good Jets. I mean, like good guys who you leave.
Demario Davis, like I'll root for.
Remember David Harrison? Him too. Like you're like
snacks.
You're like, damn, I really want him back, but
that one hurt because it was on the Giants too. Like. It hurt watching him do good.
That was like when we lost. Who was it? Kareem McKenzie.
Oh yeah, he went to the Giants, and he was like a Pro Bowler for like a decade for them. Like he won the Super Bowl with them, I think. Like that one hurt. But yeah, like, and then there's other guys that leave, and you're like, you just watch to see how bad they're doing. Like like Jamal Adams, like it was the prime example. Like just the way he left, like. You just wanted to make sure he was struggling and not doing well.
He sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys like that.
You tell me that ruined his career.
Yeah. He I think he was the perfect like example of I don't know the best way to phrase it, but like
an asshole.
Yeah, no, but like for us as fans, like he was a good player here. He did a lot of good things, but like an immensely flawed player. And I think we just kind of overrated him because he was the best player surrounded by dog shit. But he really like in hindsight though, like I'm glad that they didn't pay that guy.
Oh no, he's a liability in coverage. He's an injury machine. I mean, like don't get me wrong, he had a couple big hits, he had a couple big games, and he was a fan favorite. He interacted well. He was a good Jet.
Yeah,
until he wasn't.
But he wanted to be he wanted to be a Jet allegedly until he left and talked about it was the worst like years of his life and he had mental health issues and went to a dark place. But you could say all that bullshit. If Joe Douglas would have cut you
doing now.
If Joe Douglas would have cut you a check, those years would have been just fine for you.
You're coming right back.
Yeah, right. So I don't like that about him. But I don't know. I feel like we just like we over kind of valued him, I think, a little bit. Like, oh, this is our guy, homegrown. We got to keep our homegrown guys. We never keep them. And I felt that way at the time too. Like, oh, this sucks. And even then, it's hard to like appreciate it when you trade him for 2 first-round picks, not knowing who you're going to end up drafting with those picks. And obviously, they end up getting, I think, Elijah Vera Tucker and Garrett Wilson with the 2 picks that they got. So obviously, I mean, that's like a franchise-altering move in the right direction by trading a safety who subsequently got a big deal from that team that he went to, but
fell off a cliff.
Yeah, got injured pretty much.
Total sense.
Yeah, right. Like season-ending injuries twice, like broke every bone in his upper body, and now he's like playing for like almost not quite a league minimum deal, but I think that guy's playing for like $5 million this year, and he signed like the week before the season started. It just shows you how you. I think it's like a good. I don't know. Like it's like the task that the GMs are faced with of like having to make a tough decision early on, like. That had to be tough for Joe Douglas coming into a franchise that doesn't have any talent and it's your first year as the GM, knowing you don't have a lot of talent, you need to stockpile talent. You have this fan favorite player you drafted, he developed with your team. He's kind of saying publicly he wants to come back. And you're saying, I mean, and that Joe Douglas took a lot of shit for it at the time, but he said they wanted Jamal back too. Like, Jamal's a part of our future. And then they traded him. And then he always comes back to it now. Like, Joe Douglas jokes about it. Like, he's like, I don't talk about players in public anymore. Like, I don't say they're going to come back. I don't say they're not coming back. He's like, because I learned my lesson from that, like, Jamal Adams scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just like a tough decision that he had to make. And luckily, I mean, I don't think the Jets are where they are right now. And granted, the Jets haven't done shit, so I can't like say they're in this prosperous catbird position where we're sitting here 12-2 going to the playoffs. I mean, we're 2-1 in week 3 of the official Aaron Rodgers era. So, but things are obviously trending in the right direction offensively. The defense seems like it's settled in, and they're obviously trending in the right direction. But it's just like funny to look back to like 2, 3, 4 years ago, and like where you are probably the worst team in the league, barren of talent, the worst talent in the league, and now you're talking about having 6, 7, 8 offensive guys that you could throw the ball to, and 4 or 5 all-pro guys on defense. It's just like, it's amazing how quick you can flip the script with like prudent business decisions and good drafting. It's insane.
Yeah, this is a time more than any other time that I can remember that we've hit on a lot more draft picks than we haven't. I mean, you remember, it's like you after the draft, like, oh, this guy's great. I love him. I'm on the Bryce Petty train. And then it's like, what the fuck? Like, they don't even last a year.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like, then now you're looking, it's like, and look at what he's hit on. Like, granted that, that Denzel Mims draft, whatever, but like, look at since then, they've developed well, and they've developed undrafted free agents well. I think that's the unsung part of these off seasons, not the Trader Joe thing, not the, getting everybody Rodgers to recruit people, not even some of the good drafts. They've been able to find diamonds in the rough, develop them, and turn them into solid cornerstone pieces as defense. Like Quincy Williams, we talked about, same thing. They didn't undraft a free agent, but they saw him on the waiver wire, pull him through. Bryce Huff was a undrafted free agent, and look at the ones we have this year too with Leonard Taylor and all these guys. Like, there's something to that where we couldn't develop first round talent. Yeah. Now we're developing guys who couldn't even get drafted by 32 other teams 7 times.
Yeah,
there's something to that.
The big guy from Arizona comes back this week, the D tackle.
I think he's eligible to come off IR
after week 4.
After this week. I don't know if he will, but I know that they said he's pretty close to being ready once he is eligible to come off IR. So maybe you have him for London, possibly. We'll see. But that's another guy that they'll have up in the middle that could help kind of clog the run game, which I was surprised at how well they were able to kind of contain Stevenson last week. I thought he was going to have a day.
Reds us.
But yeah, what did he have? 3 yards or something like he didn't do anything.
He had 0.3 fantasy yards, fantasy points.
Yeah. It was insane. How well they were able to stuff the run. I mean, you do that offensively. I think the offense had the ball for 42 minutes or something. They only had 18 minutes of possession, and when you're down by 20 points, when you'd only have minimal things, you're not going to really run the ball. You're going to have to abandon the run and kind of play for the pass. And
it was a complete flip of the script from the 49ers game. We barely had the ball, and here we had the ball long 8-minute, 20-play drives.
Yeah, right. It was just like you said. It felt like I was watching a sport that I've never watched before. It really, and like you said, we said earlier, like the offense isn't even clicking yet. Like it's not even we're not even like Breece Hall's not popping 100-yard games yet, and Garrett Wilson's not going for $120 yet. Like we're not even at that point yet where like everybody's firing on full cylinders. We're just the offensive line is really cohesive right now. They're giving Rodgers a ton of time to throw the ball. They're keeping him upright for the most part. He's able to scramble and kind of play it off platform a little bit, and he's just kind of been able to pick and choose and throw darts when he's needed to, and it's just been a really successful formula so far. Obviously, eventually it's going to get to the point where they're going to have to get down in the trenches. They're going to have to pound the rock. There's going to be games like that where Rodgers is going to be under duress, I'm sure, and they're going to have to run the ball and kind of get creative. But So far, I just don't think that you could be any happier with how the offense has looked after at least the last 2 games.
Absolutely. Garrett Wilson only has 150 yards receiving through 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, he didn't.
For 1,000.
He didn't have like a catch like the first half of the Titans game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. I was just thinking back. We were talking about we should do an episode of the pod one week, maybe like during a bye or something. We should go through like all the drafts of the last like 15 years because I did it. I did it recently with Dennis. You know, my friend Tim that sits in front of us, and James, his friend. We were talking. I have a chat with those guys, and we were talking about like Will McDonald the other night. Like, oh, maybe they finally hit on like a first round pick kind of thing, and we were just talking about like all the trash drafts that we have, and we were just like naming all the bust first rounders, and there's like names that you just like forget about, and you just like there's not only like 1, 2, 3, there's like 12, 15. And even when you go in like the later rounds, guys that were like second round picks, third round picks that like every year we drafted them, we're like, yeah, we're hyping this guy up. He's going to be good. And like, he's out of the league in 2 years. And that's the thing. Like our busts don't even like go to another team and figure it out, or like they end up having like decent careers. Like the guys that we're drafting and are having busts
are out of
like,
the league.
They're out of the league. Like not even after their contracts, in like 3 years, they're out of the league.
Like D Milner, like it's just like they're gone.
Yeah. Like
oh my God,
D Milner, Calvin Pryor,
Stephen Hill. Oh my God.
Stephen
Did we have
Hill.
D. Milner and Tremaine Johnson at the same time?
No.
That would have been awful.
We took D Milner in the Sheldon Richardson draft. We took them together. That was that was the pick we got for. Yeah, that was the pick we got for Revis from Tampa Bay.
He got Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Sheldon Richardson was Rookie of the Year. He's one of the few successes that we've had. But yeah, Quentin Copels.
Ooh,
oh God.
Vernon Golston.
I hated that pick.
Zach Wilson.
But even like guys in the say, remember the receivers that one year, Devin Smith, Ohio State kid.
Oh, who was the one? The other
Alabama kid.
Darius Stewart.
Darius Stewart.
Remember we had like that second round curse where we couldn't hit on second round receivers.
Yeah, and
didn't we draft the big guy from
Kyle Wilson, corner from Piscataway?
Oh yeah,
he actually wasn't awful. He just couldn't turn his fucking head around when the ball's in the air.
Remember we had Buster Screen? Did he just get arrested?
He went like AWOL.
I think he's in prison, or maybe they never caught him to take him to prison. We didn't draft him though. We got him from Cleveland, I think.
Do you remember that one year where not Morris Claiborne? Who was the other cornerback where he just like left the team? No, but I know. But who was the one guy? He wore Revis's number. He wore 24, but he just like picked up one day from practice and never came back. Do you remember?
I know. Funny thing in Jets history is that wouldn't even be like a top 75 storyline in like the franchise's history. Like so many other fucked up things have happened that a guy leaving the team and
Dimitri Patterson.
Dimitri, I remember him. Yeah.
Who the hell is that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
2014. He just like fucking picked up and left. Never came back.
2014.
Yeah.
The lineman?
No, he's a
cornerback.
We drafted him. What pick?
I don't think we drafted him.
Oh, I'm like, I don't
know. We picked him up, I think, from somebody. For like the Dolphins, I think.
Who else, though? There was a couple of... Remember, even like when we were kids, remember like Dwayne Robertson at pick 3 from Kentucky?
Instead of picking...
anybody.
Oh, no, there's somebody we like... That might have been the Reggie Bush year.
And then the year we didn't have a first-round pick, we only had a second-round pick. And we took... No, I'm sorry. No, we traded our first-round pick to the Raiders for Doug Jolly.
The
tight end. And then we only had a second-round pick, and we took a fucking kicker, Mike Nugent, in the second round with the second. That was our first pick in the draft, was a kicker. That was fun times. Justin Miller in the third round, a kick returner. No first round pick in your first 2 picks in the draft.
But although I did like Justin Miller, though. I really like Justin Miller.
But your first two picks in the draft, you take a kicker and a kick returner.
What was Justin Douglas? What was Joe Douglas's first draft? 2020?
Yeah, that
right?
was
The Becton year?
That was Becton,
Ashton
Denzel
Davis.
Mims. Ashton Davis is the only one still on the team.
So, but if you look at the draft after that, so from 21, 22, 23, 24, like even you
21's a failure because of Wilson, obviously.
It is a failure because of Wilson. However, you can make the argument he's still up in the air, but you got Elijah Vera Tucker, still a cornerstone piece on the right side of your line. Elijah Moore, whatever, fuck you.
Yeah, they got they recouped that. They got a second round pick for him. So like they got the value that they traded for.
Exactly.
Him.
This is the draft you took in the 5th round, Jamie Sherwood, who's now a potential starting middle linebacker for you.
That's true. That draft does obviously get better if Sherwood turns into a player.
Michael Carter, who just signed, is probably the best slot cornerback in the NFL.
True.
Brandon Eccles, who has stepped up every time you put him in the starting lineup.
He makes me mad sometimes.
Yeah. He'll make you mad, and then he gets like a pick, and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Or he'll lock down like, we had he played against Randy Moss and he had 1 catch for 6 yards. And then immediately goes right into 2 years ago. Sauce, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Brees Hall, Rucker is going to be good soon. Max Mitchell, who the hell knows?
Clemens.
I don't know what I feel about Clemens, to be honest with you.
I mean, he's a starting player in the NFL right now. Like, even if he's okay.
But does he need to be?
I don't know. I mean, would they take him in the 5th round? I mean, if you get a starting player in the 5th round, even for a year and a half, that's a good.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, if we went and pulled that draft up right now, and if we went and pulled up that draft right now and looked at the guys taken after Clemens, how many of them are starting games in the league right now? It's probably not a lot of them.
Let's find out. But also, too, again, sticking with that same narrative, you go to the next year, then 23. Will McDonald seems to be moving in the right direction. Joe Tippmann is going to be your
one of the best centers in the league right now so far.
Carter Warren, I still think, is going to be a solid right tackle when he's given the chance. I don't know
if he's ever going to play enough to know that, but he's a good depth guy. Like, if I have to play him for like a week, like
I don't mind it. Exactly.
Like if you're telling me he's got to play for 8 weeks, I don't love that. But I mean, hey, yeah, at this point you just need depth guys that that can play there, especially at that position.
Long enough right now. I think he's okay.
And then Izzy Abanko, who knows? Zaire Barnes, I think he's still there. And then Jarek BC, the corner, he's still there. Jack Hunt sucks. And also, too, let's be honest. Let's call it what it is now. We could put it to bed what we should have done with the 11th pick this year. We called it. We said it. We wish he didn't play, but we knew he was going to have to. Olu Fashanu coming in. I'm glad we don't have Brock Bowers playing right tackle for us right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah. Or I'm glad we don't have Carter Warren or Max Mitchell starting on Sunday.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
He looked good when he came in at the end of the game. I mean, he didn't get a ton of work. Moses got hurt later in the game, but I mean, you wouldn't even known he was out of the game. I mean,
nope.
Fashanu played great.
I'm happy with that pick and what he's going to do. I mean, he's going to play for what, 3 weeks ish, right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, they're not putting him on IR, so you'd think 3 games.
Yeah,
and you just kind of had the mini bye, so he's already had 10 days. And you're going to go to London, and and then you have Buffalo after that. So maybe he's back for the Buffalo game, if not after the Buffalo.
Yeah, don't put him on a plane.
Yeah.
So real quick to go back to your previous thing, after Michael Clemens, you had the option of taking maybe Zamir White. You had the option of taking Jake Ferguson, even though you just already took a tight end 2 things before that.
I'd rather have Jake Ferguson than Jeremy Ruckert.
Romeo Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs was a 4th round pick. Holy shit! I didn't realize that.
Okay.
Billy Zappi.
Ooh.
Yeah. Wetting my whistle there.
Isaiah Likely.
I'm not even sold that he's great. Like he's
okay. A good back. He's a perfect backup. Khalil Shakir, the Buffaloes.
The Buffalo guy. I think he's like I think he's like Alan Lazard. Like you're like he's like a good he's like a number 1 for them, but he's not a number like he should be
Everywhere.
a number 3. He should be a number 3 on a good team.
Tyler Algier, good backup. Right. Rick Woolen, has he? Remember there was a conversation. He's better than Sauce. Has he done anything?
Woolen on the Seahawks.
Woolen, yeah.
Yeah, he was like the runner-up
Woolen?
for Rookie of the Year. It was him and Sauce. They were like,
All right.
everybody thought Woolen should have gotten it because he had more picks than
Sauce is Sauce. Don't put some respect on his name.
Yeah,
Jerome Ford,
I like
Kyron Williams, Deron Bland.
All right, fuck you, Spiga.
Won't need none of them running backs.
Just say I'm fucking right, okay?
I thought they took him later. I thought he was like a 5th round pick. I didn't know he went in the 4th.
He was a 4th round pick. I mean, but granted, I feel like this is an anomaly. There's never that many guys who you're like, ooh, that's a solid contributor for any team, any position that deep in the draft.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're all at this rate. The way we normally draft, like I said, normally a 4th round pick for us would be working at Burger King 2 years later. This guy's actually starting and playing snaps for us. So I mean, I wouldn't call it he's not going to be a Pro Bowler like a cornerstone guy.
He did what he was supposed to do. We could have had Brock Purdy. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. Could have had Brock Purdy.
Right there.
What?
There's just a possum on my side.
Where the fuck are you, Dennis?
Backyard.
I told you to go in.
You should see me just stand up and move.
I did.
It's Carteret, dog. It's not the backwoods of Australia.
Next time I'm gonna go like this. And you
should have let him on camera.
We should have had his take on Aaron Rodgers and what's going on with him for week 4.
All right, before I just want to finish really quick. I think my biggest concern with this team right now, and I don't know if it should be, is Greg the Leg. There's going to come a time where he's going to have to. There's going to come a time where he's going to have to hit a big field goal and he's going to miss, and it'll be really.
What's up with him?
Like he wasn't good in the preseason, and then he missed a chip shot.
He's got like the
Thursday.
yips.
Yeah, and I pointed out to Dennis, like when he missed that field goal the other night, it was right before half. They went in for the half, and like 3 minutes after halftime started, like he came out and he just kicked field goals like during the halftime entertainment, and he didn't miss any of them. Like he fucking drilled them all.
He's back, Dennis. I don't know. But I don't know. There's going to be a time where he's going to need to step up and come in and make a big kick, and he's better fucking make it.
Yeah, I'm just.
I wouldn't there right now.
I wouldn't say I'm like concerned, but I'm definitely like monitoring it at this point because if he misses another 1 or 2, I think we officially have a kicker problem.
Yeah, I don't want to go back into that world.
Yeah, I don't want to go looking for Kerry Vidvek on the fucking waiver wire.
That motherfucker lost us week 1.
Yeah. But just to wrap here, quickly, predictions for Sunday, Dennis.
Sunday, I want to say it's going to be very similar to last week. About 20, I would say 27 to about 6 or 10.
Okay. Similar to where I was kind of leaning.
Brees Hall game.
Brees Hall game. Okay. I like that.
I'll be honest, I'm just happy this game is not in Denver because the last 2 times we played in Denver, we've lost Vera Tucker.
Yeah.
Keep him healthy. That's what I'm hoping for. Keep ABT standing. I think the Jets keep rolling, to be honest with you. Dennis, I think you hit it right. I think this is going to be a ground and pound game. I don't think they're going to throw as much. I think they're going to control the clock, control the game. This is going to be another 28-10, 28-7 or 6. I think they're going to get after Bo Nix. I think Sauce is going to get his first pick this year. And I think Aaron throws for over. No, you know what? No. I think somebody goes over 100. Whether it's on the ground. I think someone has a big game. I think someone's going to go over 100.
Okay. Yeah, I'm same aligned with you guys. I was actually thinking pretty much the same as that score. I was thinking like 28-10 in my head, somewhere like that. I don't know. I don't really know like if I have a good feel for like how they're going to get there. I do feel like they're going to start to take the kid gloves off of Mike Williams a little bit. I think you're going to start to see him play more of an active role this week, especially if Garrett Wilson's going to be taken out by Surtain. I just feel like this could be the Mike Williams coming out party. He's familiar with that defense, played in a division against them twice a year with the Chargers, so he's got familiarity there. And I think he's at the point now where you've kind of seen him. He's probably close to fully back from that injury. He's moving well. I think they're going to want to get him more involved. So I think I don't know if he's going to get his first touchdown, but I think you're going to by far see his most active performance on Sunday. But yeah, 28-10 Jets win, 3-1 going into London. Let's fucking lock it up.
Lock it up.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Are you guys going or no?
Of course we're going.
I don't know. You never know. It's
Yeah,
1 o'clock might be early for Dennis.
Dennis is actually getting to know Dennis over the last couple of years much better than I ever have. He's an early riser.
Even no matter what time I go to sleep, I'm up.
Yeah, like he's up before me a lot of times, which is wild. Like it's crazy.
I miss one of those games. Have a beer at the tailgate for me.
You gonna come up for any?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know when. I want to see how the schedule plays out.
They're all like Sunday night. We don't have another 1 o'clock home game until December 1st.
I'd rather come in December.
Yeah, well, December 1st is Seattle. That's the next 1 o'clock home game.
You guys are gonna come to Miami to come to the Jets Dolphins game?
We'll see. Maybe. See what happens.
That's week 14. December 8th. I'll go to that.
It's going to be right by Christmas time. Flights to Florida are going to be unbearable.
The 8th? That's not too bad.
A whole month of December, all you fucking snowbirds go down there.
I'm not a snowbird. I'm official, baby.
You can drive.
Well,
drive, yeah.
Hell no, I'm not driving.
You drive your busted-ass truck down there. You keeping the truck?
I think so. I got to go before October 1st.
That's in like 5 days.
Yeah.
Better make a call.
Mm-hmm. Probably Monday.
All right. We'll figure it out. That's our tailgate vehicle. We need it. All right, boys. Well, it was good chatting with you. Nice to get a podcast episode in for a change. It's been about 2 months, but let's get back on the regular grind now. We got a good season. Let's document it, and let's talk about it. So hopefully we get a big win Sunday. We'll reconvene like a week from now, and hopefully we're 3-1 talking about waking up for some breakfast watching London.
Can't wait. Jet up, baby.
All right, boys. Take it easy. We'll see you soon. Jet up.